Awesome. All right, folks. So 10 tips for taking effective gap years. I thought it would be smart to start off our brief presentation tonight with just what is a gap year, because maybe not everybody knows, and it's really a basic concept. It just means taking a break, taking some time off between undergraduate studies and graduate studies, and it could be one gap year singular, or it could be many years. It could be up to 10 years. I know we've got somebody coming into the MFA this fall who's been out for 10. So it really can be flexible. It can be any length of time you want it to. But what we're going to focus on tonight is addressing those gaps very intentionally. So we're making kind of a plan, a game plan, so that when you eventually do want to pursue some post-grad or graduate study, that you're ready, that you're on the right path. So some of the benefits of taking a gap year is to, one, build that really strong portfolio so that when you apply, you feel very confident in the materials that you're submitting. And then two, you'll want to try to make work without the scaffolding, the structure of academic assignments, academic scaffolding of any kind, which is really actually quite impressive to us as a selection committee, because that means you have the self-motivation, the drive to do that on your own, which is what we're looking for, because grad school, you'll find, is much more self-driven than undergrad. You of course have faculty, you have mentors, you have all sorts of wonderful people who are rooting for you, but the creative practice is really what you bring to the table. So if we see that you've made work outside the structures of academia, we're like, ooh, this person is going to be able to self-regulate, which is really exciting. Also, you might not think of it at first, but the third reason why this is a good idea is it gives you some time to reflect and to really articulate a clear why. Why are you going? You know, because you really want to be able to, at a drop of a hat, answer the question, why are you going to grad school? Because if you aren't completely sure why you want to go, you can take some more time and figure out that answer for yourself. And it's going to be a different answer for every single person. That's totally normal. But you do want to have an answer to the question why. And it just means that you've done some goal setting and that you've prepared so that you have a really successful experience. The fourth one is one that we're probably all craving if you are in academia right now and you're headed towards summer. A gap year or multiple gap years gives you a chance to rest, to recharge, to rejuvenate yourself after possibly a challenging academic experience. It gives you time to fully recover so that when you do go to grad school, you feel ready, you feel restored, and that you are raring to go, basically. So that's also a really great reason to take a year to yourself. And then fifth, really importantly, save up some funds. You know, graduate experiences are usually a little bit expensive, so you want to actively save and get a nice little nest egg there so that you can reduce the amount of loans that you take out. It's just a really nice strategy to pursue for one gap year or multiple gap years. So let's get to those 10 tips. All right. So the first tip that I say is always set some goals. So let's say you're almost done with your undergraduate experience, or you've been out for a little while and you're about to intentionally start on your gap year experience or gap years. Write it down, write down some goals. And I say work in 1 year increments. So if you try to work with goals much longer than that, it can be difficult to keep your eye on the prize. But 1 year is really manageable. Most of us can set those goals and achieve them and feel really good about it. So think about it. What do you want to do with your 1 year? Are you going to make 10 new paintings? Are you going to make 3 new animations? Are you going to land 2 freelance clients? Do you hope to show your work? Do you want to publish it? Do you want to get some more press on your work? Do some interviews with some newspapers or blogs? Maybe you need an internship before you you finish your gap year, whatever. All of these are relevant. All of these are great goals to set for yourself and then work backwards towards the present so that you can achieve them. And I always say be specific when you're goal setting, and don't forget to strategize. It's a great thing to set a goal, but then you need to make a plan for how you're going to get there. So number one is goal setting. Number two is set a schedule, which is sort of intertwined with goal setting. Use some sort of calendar, whether that's Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, whatever, and set some reminders, especially recurring reminders. These can be enormously helpful, especially when you fall off the wagon and maybe you fell off of your schedule and you don't feel like you're moving towards your goals. If you all of a sudden get an email reminder once a week, it's a real motivator to get back on track and to keep moving towards whatever it is, whether it's your 10 paintings or your 2 animations or fill in the blank. Also, do not be afraid to schedule studio time or making time or design time, whatever you want to call it, the time where you're going to keep on making the work that will move you towards a successful application. Block it out. Think about what amount of time usually helps you get stuff done. Is it 1 hour? Is it 2 hours, 3 hours? Is it maybe you work better in 20-minute increments? Whatever your best mode of doing, get it on your calendar and commit to it, because it's actually a little harder to procrastinate if it's on your calendar. So that's my second tip. The third one is designate some sort of space. And this doesn't mean you have to go rent a studio and spend a lot of money. It can be within your home. But there's something really powerful about just designating some space as your creative place. And I'm in my studio right now at home. This is our second bedroom, and I've transformed it into our studio. And I know when I walk through this door, that's what I'm coming here to do. I'm coming here to work creatively. And so it's really powerful when even if it's a very small amount of space, it doesn't have to be a whole room. It could just be a desk space in a part of a room. But once you do that, you will find that you become, again, more accountable to getting the work done. And then another option is to share studio space with a group of people. And sometimes that is just the trick to help somebody get their work done during that gap year, is to have a group of people to hold your feet to the fire. So that I do see a lot of people successfully share a studio space, and maybe it's with like 4 or 5 other people, and it brings the cost monthly way, way, way down, and it's manageable. And that way you can produce whatever you need to do. I know for sequential art, we've got one MFA alum who has a group studio, and they all pay a way reduced price because they have like 6 desks in this larger studio, and only a couple of them are there at a time, but they've figured out the logistics to make it affordable and also to inspire each other, because when they walk through that door, they see each other's work and it pushes them to keep making. So step 3 is make a workspace. Step 4, pick up a good job. Certainly, we can't deny grad studies are often expensive. So in your gap year or gap years, try to think strategically about what you're going to do to make money in those gap years. So I recommend a high-paying, part-time, flexible job. This might be things like bartending or group fitness instructing, or being a high school tutor where you can set the hours and that it has a pretty high hourly wage attached to it. And that way you might not have to work full time to fund your life. You might be able to just work maybe two or 3/4 time, so that you can devote more of your time to creating, to working on that portfolio work, drawing your comics, doing whatever it is that you want to be moving towards to have a successful grad application. 5 is really important. Up until now, we've been talking about working. Don't forget your health. Set up healthy habits. That means make sure you're getting enough sleep, make sure you're getting some exercise, that you're eating healthy. All of that will make the work so much easier. If you're taking care of your body and taking care of your mind, the creative work will come out so much more readily and easily, compared to if you're trying to do it on 3 hours of sleep or something like that. So don't forget to take care of yourself. And also it's good to set up those habits, because once you're in grad school, it's very, very intense. It's a packed schedule. So getting healthy habits all lined up before you get there will actually make your grad school experience much more successful too. So keep that in mind. Number 6 is super important as well. Make sure in your gap year or years that you are meeting people. It's so easy to graduate and then recede and just sort of like fall into not going out a lot, to just focusing on your work. Make sure that you get out there, that you meet people, whether that's at Comic Cons, whether it's at exhibition receptions, whether it's at networking events, whatever you choose that feels right for you, keep meeting people. Your network will sustain you and will help you. Even in the graduate application process, you'll be able to turn to your network for advice, tips, support, maybe letters of recommendation, etc. So don't lose your connections with people. It's really, really important so that you have the support that you need. All right. And 7 is stay in touch. This is sort of connected to number 6 because it's both about people. But if you are a recent grad, or maybe it's been a little while, you've been out for a little bit, reach back out to your teachers. Reach back out to your mentors. And if you don't already do this, set up a little email newsletter and reach out to the people who are really important to you and your practice, at least I say 1 or 2 times a year. And what that's going to do is rekindle your relationships, remind them that you exist, and it will make it much easier when you do apply to solicit things like letters of recommendation, or even more importantly, a second set of eyes on your written material. It's also a great set of people to run your portfolio by. Sometimes when you've been out of school for a while and you create a new portfolio, it's hard to tell, is it good? So you need these wonderful people to rely on for their second opinion, and they're going to give you really honest feedback and help support you. So stay in touch. Number 8 is to don't forget to get out and see work, whatever your field might be. If it's comics, make sure you're going to zine festivals and Comic Cons. If it's painting, make sure you're getting out to all the galleries, not just the museums to see the old work. Make sure you're seeing the contemporary work as well. If you're working on design, you've got to get out there and see the inspirational work in your field. And you have to regularize it. I would put something like a monthly reminder on your calendar and just pop it up, and all it has to do is say, what work have you seen recently? And if you haven't been out recently, it will prompt you to get out there. And again, it's like you're sort of filling your brain with lots of food so that you can produce more creative work that's exciting, that's inspired by the current moment, and that serves you. And then 9, this might feel counter to the idea of a gap year, but I threw it in here because a lot of times when we're on a gap year or gap years, we can encounter artist block or creative block. And sometimes the thing to get that will jumpstart you and get you out of that is to be jolted back into a habit by a creative workshop or by a short class. And continuing ed classes, MCAT offers them, other schools offer them, certainly continuing ed in the community. There's so many places where you can take a quick workshop, and it's like an injection of creativity and of inspiration and motivation. So don't be afraid to take in 1 or 2 of those during your gap years, just to help you keep motivated and keep going. And then number 10 is do some research. So if you're intentionally taking a gap year, it's a really great time to take your time with the research so you don't feel rushed. And what does this mean? It means you should be looking at what type of degree, what type of certificate, etc., best suits you and best suits your goals. Similarly, what type of delivery do you like? Do you want online, in person, low residency, etc.? Look at a variety of schools. Don't just settle for one, like look at a variety, and look at what are the schools producing in terms of alumni and their faculty work. Is it inspiring to you? Does your work align with it? And then what do they offer in terms of space, equipment, availability, all that good stuff. And then certainly everyone wants to take into consideration location, cost of living. That can affect your choices as well. And then certainly tuition and fees. So that's actually a pretty long list of stuff that you need to research so that you can make the best, most informed decision for yourself. And that's why doing that research over a year can be much more reasonable, doable, and it's easier to wrap your head around that volume of research when you're not also trying to finish your undergrad degree or another degree. So keep that in mind. And that is my 10th tip. So I'm going to stop.